Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. All set? All right. So any questions so far from the past sessions? No questions? All right. And what are the results of this profiling? Who all did?
Ma'am, the 123.com personality test, right? Yes, ma'am, I did. I have sent it to you also.
So I'm asking the result. I saw that you have sent me. Hima, Bushra,
Yes, ma'am.
and Devansh. Yeah. Prachi, have you done that?
Yes, ma'am, I have sent it to you.
I didn't see that really. I'll check in my spam mail by chance.
Yes.
So what was the result of this profiling? What was the end result?
Ma'am, mine was recruitment consultant, secretary of state, and human resource officer, and talent agent, admissions coordinator, brand manager, ICT project manager, financial planner, investment advisor, credit advisor.
Very good. Which one was most dominant? DISC, which one is most prominent?
Ma'am, I'll have to see 1 minute.
Okay. Devansh, what's yours?
Yes, ma'am.
Which one is, what is the result of your DISC profiling?
Ma'am, I don't remember the percentage, ma'am. 1 minute.
Okay.
Ma'am, it was advertising sales agent.
No. From DISC, there would be percentage of each one generally chose as a test.
Ma'am, my dominance is 46%. That is 24%, influence 19%, and complete 11%.
So dominance is more, no?
Yes,
so
ma'am.
so your personality is more dominating.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good. Prachi, what's yours?
Ma'am, 45% compliance and
Compliance.
rest, and rest, I don't know exactly the percentage, but it was something like second one was
the rest,
dominance,
whatever. Yeah,
and
but
then,
most dominant is compliance.
was
Very
compliance.
good.
Yes.
Yeah, very good. Hima, what's yours?
Ma'am, steadiness 42, compliance 30, influence 19, dominance 9.
Very good. So more steadiness. Good. Socially secure. Very nice. So is it stating that finance is a good line for you? Being a CA is a good line? Good career choice? Is it showing that?
Like I didn't do any time like this test. I can know myself what is a dominance.
See, this is what happens with us. We generally we do this profiling, and there are many other psychometric tests. When we go to schools, we generally perform this test on 11th and 12th class students who are planning to do deciding their career for future. Because if you do your correct personality test during that time, it will tell you that what career would be more suitable for you as per your own personality, your own interest, your hobbies, right? Doing at this stage, obviously, it's not really a delay. doing at this stage, you keep doing, because our personality also changes as per, whatever we do.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's okay. But see, it was just to give you an idea that what kind of aptitude tests and personality tests are generally there in organizations. They may not be disc profiling. Many organizations use disc profiling also to decide and see whether you are really suitable for the company or not. But there are many similar tests. So you know the address now, 123test.com. It has many tests which you can practice yourself whenever you want. Try and do some aptitude test also.
Okay.
If you have not done, right? So that will give you much more better idea that if you go for an interview, what kind of questions they are going to ask in a test. It will help you prepare that. Yeah. All right.
Okay, ma'am.
So now let's start the new topic for this week. I think this is the last topic for the extra classes. Rest all your topics are going on very well with the normal classes. So talent acquisition, because we are acquiring the right talent in the organization, right? We are hiring and selection. So like we said that the talent acquisition is categorized into various categories. So one category is sourcing, second is recruitment, third is interviewing, and fourth is selection. Now the fifth and very important part is that onboarding, induction, and orientation of a candidate in an organization. Right. So what do you understand by these terms? Let's understand from you what is your understanding, and then we will take it ahead from here. So who wants to share? What do you mean by these three terms? Onboarding, induction, and orientation.
Ma'am, induction is a process of it's a process of welcoming new employees to the organization, making them comfortable in the new organization. And onboarding is an umbrella term which starts from the very first day and until the employer is fully comfortable in the organization. It is comparatively a long term period, and induction is a short term. It happens only on the first day of the employees in the organization. And orientation is somewhat like induction. We come to know about the organization, and we are people are generally ma'am, I'm not getting the word. People are generally told about the organization that ये करना है, वो करना है, ऐसे करना है, वैसे करना है.
Right. Okay, good. Who else would like to share? Prachi, Devan, Shima, what's your thought?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, onboarding is a process of introducing new employees in the organization, and induction and orientation is a part of onboarding process.
Good. Okay.
And induction is a formal introduction of the new employee in the organization, and orientation is a long-term process of the same.
Okay. Good. Hima, Devansh? No idea, Hima?
No, ma'am. I have no idea.
Okay. In your college, no orientation is generally in colleges also orientation is being done.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Orientation is
correct. So what is that orientation?
Some like I think I'm thinking like training. Training the employees according to the what they have their targets, how to achieve them. They'll train the employee.
Correct. So see, orientation and induction are very much part of the training also in an organization, not just a part of talent acquisition. But like we have been sharing this with you, I think Hardik sir also and me also, that skills and competencies are required when you are searching for a good candidate. right? When you do performance management also, then also we are giving them marks or weightage on their competencies, correct? So now when we see, when we hire somebody in the organization, we see that these competencies are missing or it's not really up to the date. For example, if you're looking at, suppose that decision making is a competency that you're looking at in a candidate, right? When you're hiring. When you hired that person in the organization, you saw that out of 5, on the scale of 5, this person is currently at 3, right? And hence, but for the job, for the role that he or she has to play in the organization, decision making is a very critical competency, right? But you hire him or her because other skills are also good. So what you do is, during your orientation, you plan a training program for that person so that the decision making also improves. So at least from 3, your target is that it should reach by 3.5 or 4. So there would be a significant change in the person's competency or skill through this orientation, right? So that's how this orientation plan is also designed, right? So your training also, so your training need analysis actually starts from this particular process, which is called onboarding or induction, right? You take down all the details of an employee, that what are the competencies missing, where are these competencies and skills where we have to give them a little bit more training so that they become much more much more fitting for the job that we have for them, correct?
Yes.
Right. So this is the definition of onboarding. Onboarding, it means a complete process, right? Where we are integrating new team members into the company through proper education and support and help that we have to provide, right? Also, it starts from the moment you start looking at the participants as a prospective candidate, prospective joinee for your company, right? It doesn't start when you have hired that person. It basically starts from the time when you are looking at the person as a prospective candidate. That means the moment your sourcing starts, your onboarding process has also started. Because out of the 10 candidates that you have sourced, there would be chances that out of these 10, 2 might be selected for the position that you have open, right? So how you are talking to them, what's your communication, all these things are showing a very good value system to the people that you are carrying with you as a representative of the organization. So it's very important. That's the reason why we tell all the HRs or all the recruiters who are hiring people that no matter what, you have to keep up the value of the organization when you are talking to the candidates. No matter the candidates are insecure, they are little impolite, or they don't know how to talk properly, but we have to maintain our value system because we are not just individuals as Prachi, Hima, Bushra, but we are also part of the organization, and that's the name that we are carrying with us, right? So that's the brand name that you're carrying. So it's very important. So onboarding should start from the day when you have started talking to the candidates, right? So that's the definition. Now, what is the process of onboarding? How it basically works? It starts from releasing the offer, that you have given the offer to the person, because now this is the person who's going to join the organization. He or she will be there working physically with you. Then they accept the offer, right? Now from releasing the offer to the acceptance of offer, there are a lot of times when HR has to talk or the recruiter has to talk to the person, candidate, right? A lot of interaction happens in between in terms of document exchange. You will ask for various documents that the person has to give: Aadhaar card, PAN card, experience letters, education qualification certificates, degrees, whatever. So a list of documentation is prepared by organization. So that's how your initial discussion is going to happen a lot of time with this. So that is the reason why we call it onboarding, that you have to show a very real value of your organization to the person, because this is a process when person is making a change from their past organization to new organization. So there is always a comparison factor which is happening. Right? जैसे हम करते हैं ना कि हमारा पुराना स्कूल अच्छा था, in case we have changed some schools, so वहाँ ज़्यादा अच्छा था, ये अच्छा नहीं है, different kind of things we keep changing. We keep making comparisons. So this is what happens with the organizations also. So we have to ensure as an HR or as a recruiter that whatever we are doing, how we are communicating, what are the job roles, understanding of salary structures, various things that we are dealing in should be very, very concrete, very, very crisp, and very, very clear. Right? As much as transparency you can bring into this entire process, this is going to bring a lot of fruit at the later stages when the employee has already joined. And they will remember that if Hema has hired me, then Hema is a very good person because she has given me a chance to work in this organization. So, I always tell this to my recruiter that your relationship with the candidate is going to be much longer than how he or she will work with their superiors or the people they will be reporting to, because you are the first contact point. You are the people who actually make them enter in the organization. You help them select this organization, right? So your relationship will always going to be cherished. So it totally depends upon how we actually communicate. Then third aata hai waiting period. Now waiting period is a very, very tricky period. When the person has accepted the offer and they still have a month to join because they are still considering notice period or they are still serving notice period in the past organization. So this waiting period ke andar how much HR has to talk, how much should they communicate is a very critical thing. If you overdo it, then the person can feel that they are desperate for me to join the organization. If you won't do it, then also there is a problem of gap of communication. So there should be a very, very balanced kind of an approach that an HR has to introduce, so that during that waiting period also that communication should, there should be some exchange of words, some documentation, anything for that matter. PF form bhar do, ye wala kar do, kuch bhi. So you should have a proper excuse to call that person, and then your interaction with that person should keep happening. Right? Then aata hai aapka major day, which is the day of joining the organization, when the person is physically or maybe nowadays online joining the organization. So what are you supposed to do during that day? So what are the things that we should be ready with when somebody has to join the organization? According to you, what should be there?
Ma'am, as in the induction process, because the day of joining will be the day of induction.
Correct.
So, ma'am, the question is, what will we do in the induction? No.
Sorry?
Ma'am, the question you asked was what are we going to do in the induction process, right?
Yeah, on the day of joining, what are you supposed to do? Whether induction, orientation, as a part of onboarding.
Ma'am, tell him about the organization, the rules and regulations, the policies.
Yeah.
Ma'am, paperwork and documents and all works related to it.
Sorry, what related to it?
Paperwork, all the documentation.
Yeah, all the documentation, correct. You will just check the documentation during this time.
Make them understand their roles, what they actually have to do in the organization.
Right. What else?
And telling them the aims and goals.
Aims and goals of
organization.
Okay.
You have to do.
Yeah.
Workplace tour.
Sorry?
Workplace tour.
Workplace tour is also there. Very good. So workplace tour is generally when the person is joining physically, when they are coming to the office.
Yes, ma'am.
Most of the organization these days, what they have done is they have created an online way of doing induction these days, because most of the new joinees last 2 years have been joining online only. So what they do is generally there is a very beautiful video of the entire corporate office or the entire office, which is given to the employee. They watch that particular video. Even for the policies and processes also, the similar kind of videos are being created. So, with the technology, with the help of tech, a lot of new things are actually happening in this industry. From a company like Google and Facebook are actually using artificial intelligence, which we call augmented reality. Very, very high tech technology kind of a thing. That's what they are using. So you can read about it, how they do their induction process. It's a wonderful way of giving training to the people, right? So you are sitting here like you are doing right now. We are doing an online chat, but still you will be able to feel that you are entering the office. So augmented reality can actually give you that kind of a feeling. So it's a very beautiful way of including artificial intelligence in the life of the people, so that they actually feel the part of the organization. So all good high technology, good companies are actually doing that for their people. Right? That is the reason why people are actually, look forward to join these kind of an organization in their entire career to get that experience, which generally they don't get in smaller organizations. So that's the kind of induction. So induction can actually include lot many things, which we are going to go through in the next slides. Right. So your day of joining has a proper checklist that needs to be prepared. See, as per my learning on all these years in the organization, a checklist has always been a very, very secure kind of a thing. It's like a Bible, holy grail of whatever needs to be done for your first day, so that you don't miss out on anything. Because this is very important day for any new joinee. This can actually be a decision maker whether they want to continue their career within the organization or they don't want to. Right? So that's the kind of impression you can create. So starting from with what time they have to take a break for tea, coffee, what kind of snacks to be given to them, what is the kind of kit that would be handed to them, what are the stationery material you will be handing over, who all are the key people that they are going to meet, what conference room, what time, which person they are going to meet, which department head they are going to meet at what time, whether the CEO is going to meet them or not, and how are you going to welcome them. Your security guard is prepared with the cards, which is visitors cards or new employee cards. So different kind of things altogether. So it's a wonderful way of actually creating a great experience for any new person, and you can actually bring in a lot of creativity into this. Right? I actually love to play with this particular. So orientation onboarding is one of my favorite topic in terms of, because one, it includes a lot of training. Second, you can actually create a very good, beautiful memory for somebody, that especially for the freshers if they are joining the organization for the first time. So you can play a treasure hunt game. We have designed that kind of a thing. We have played various video games also when the online boarding is happening. So we have tried and designed different kind of onboarding experience for people, so that they can actually experience a wonderful way of joining an organization. Right? इसके बाद आता है आपका coordinating with other departments. So as a part of the induction, it's very important that your coordination as an HR is happening with the other department heads. So because generally in large corporates, in good organizations, how the induction happens is various department के लोग जो new joinees हैं, they are joining on a one date. Right? In a month, they only give out 1 or 2 specific dates, that these are the dates when you can join the organization, right? So all the people join on this organization, so you can actually create a wonderful experience in a conference hall. It's like a training, a lot of people joining, so they also don't get bored, and obviously your time is also saved. So that can happen. So during that particular thing, what is important is, because people are joining from various departments, they'll be reporting into them. So you need to coordinate that which person is going to come at what time for the induction, what kind of trainings they are going to give, what kind of talks they are going to talk, how are they going to inculcate values or job description के बारे में, whatever, a lot of things are there. Right? Then आता है आपका इसके बाद training and orientation. Yeah, yes, Seema.
Ma'am, to get selected in that big companies, like main criteria, we should have only knowledge or other communication skills, or what we should have, what quality we should have most.
See, large organizations
Is there
generally
anything like
hire,
that?
yeah, they generally hire people from Premier Institute. One, even if they don't hire from Premier Institute, they are looking for candidates who have 60% throughout. Right? From class 10th onwards, all their certificates should talk about 60% and above. If that criteria is also fulfilled, then communication also plays very important role. And yes, knowledge is almost always at the highest. That's why you will feel, that is the reason why companies like Google and companies like Facebook, companies like TCS, Infosys, these are the companies who are creating different kind of products altogether. In fact, there was an article today I was just reading, somebody shared it with me today in morning, that all these companies are actually creating a wonderful experience in terms of creating their own training centers within their company. Right? So they don't really believe that institutions are giving enough knowledge. So what they do is they create their own training room. That is the reason first 2 years, company like Infosys, TCS, Google, all these companies pay very less amount to the employee because they are investing a lot of time and money into giving trainings, right? So people generally join them to gain that experience, take that experience. After 2 years, you are so proficient in terms of your knowledge, the projects you have worked, the technologies you have handled, that it creates a total different kind of things altogether. For CAs and all, EY is wonderful company, right? KPMG, Capgemini, or EY. These companies give wonderful exposure and experience. Right. So see, at least you should actually create, see if you're very serious about creating a career, right? Not just joining the organization for job purpose, that thode time kar lete hain, then I'll get married, I'll have kids and all that. Then obviously it's not really a career orientation. If you're really serious about career, so then your career should be very well planned, that I'm going to at least do 2 years in these kind of an organization, 2 years, right? Keep that in your goal, and then rest of the career you can spend in other organization. That's not really going to matter, because what you're going to learn in these two companies is really going to make your personality, it's going to shape your personality, it's going to increase your knowledge, right? Because no matter what we say, all institutions give a lot of theoretical knowledge, right? चाहे हम IIM से भी पढ़े होते हैं तब भी, not too much practical experience has happened. थोड़ा सा different है IIMs में और IITs में, because they include a lot of corporate people into the entire system. So that's the reason why it happens. So that's the reason why our entire structure is changed. The way they teach case study wise, they don't really use these kind of PPT as at all for teaching. We were always taught through the case studies, various things, right? So we had to do a lot of research ourselves. ऐसे क्लासरूम सेशंस जब होते थे हमारे, तो उसमें सिर्फ क्वेश्चन आंसर सेशन ज्यादा होता था, या डाउट क्लियरेंस, या कोई मॉडल पर पढ़ा रहे हैं तो उसके बारे में. So this is how the teacher used to teach. So that's a new experience. But when you actually go into the corporate world, practical learning is totally different from what we are doing right now. Like that is the reason why I keep saying to you that do a lot of research and do practice of whatever we are teaching. It's very important, right? For hiring, we can actually give you. That's what we did with the other students also. We gave them a live position to work on. So that's how Namika was selected in our company as a trainee intern, because she did really well. And right, nobody else did the work properly. So if you want that kind of an experience, I can give you in recruitment, I can give you in training, I can give you some kind of practical exposure so that you can understand the practical versions of how things are being done, how things are being designed, how you are actually going to talk to the candidates. So now today, Anamika has become so proficient that I don't have to depend on, if I have given one position to her to fulfill, it's just in 2 weeks' time. So I don't even recheck with the candidates whether she has spoken really well or not. So I can rely on her that she must have spoken really well, and I send those CVs directly to the client. So that's how the dependency has increased on her. And that's what I want from every employee whosoever we are taking in our company. And not just in our company, in all other organizations, this is how the process actually happens. That's the reason why they do 2 months internship. Once the internship is over, then only they select whether this person is suitable for the organization or not. They see your seriousness, they see how much research you have done, they see how much work, efforts are you putting into the entire thing. So that's the way you can get selected. Right? So if you are getting a chance to do internship in any of these large organizations, do apply for that. Keep applying for internships. See, at this point in time, internships are going to play a major role for you to understand how these theories can be changed into practical exposure. Right? So do that. And in the meantime, I'll try and give you one position to work on. You can work on this particular position. Right? I'll share it with all of you. I don't want to share it with the entire group, so I'll share it with just 4 or 5 of you who are attending the extra classes, because other people have already done that. And this is a live position we are hiring for one of the clients in Bangalore. Basically, we are looking at a person with rest. I'll send you the job description also. So basically, they're looking for an HR person. Not really a designation they have decided on. You can call senior executive, AM, totally depending upon. It's a startup firm. We are into educational tech, which is called EdTech, ED Tech. And they're looking for an HR with balanced experience of recruiting as well as generalist. That means the overall HR role. So people who can help them in onboarding, hiring, and exit, documentation, a little bit of talent management. Right? 2-3 years of experience working with other organizations, similar kind of a role. Salary, we can go up to 40,000-50,000 rupees a month. The rest depends upon whether the person is really good. Till April, it is work from home. After April, the person has to be in the office as soon as the markets open up. Job location is Bangalore. So how you can source this entire candidate is through the sourcing channels that you have learned about. LinkedIn, Facebook post, Boolean search, connect. What you have to do is you have to send the CVs to us. Good CVs. How you collect it is totally up to you. And then explain how you have done the sourcing. Today is Friday. The timeline we have is till Sunday, but you can still take one more day, Monday. I think we can wait. Strict timeline, but that's how the requirement is. Right? LinkedIn will work really good for this kind of position. For HR, LinkedIn works really best. So you can use Boolean search and then see what kind of candidates are available. And then you can send them request to LinkedIn and then connect. You can use the name of my organization, HR Human Rhythms, that you are a representative of HR Human Rhythms for this. And rest I'll share again in a proper JD format that what exactly are the job responsibilities.
Ma'am, can you please repeat the name of your organization?
It's HR, which means Human Rhythms. So www.hrhumanrhythms.com is the website. The client, as I told you, is an edtech company because sometimes you have to explain to the candidate what client you're hiring for. So it's an edtech company, startup, 7 years work they have done. They are working for US market largely. And the position is in Bangalore. Right? So let's continue this slide. So coordinating with other departments, okay, then aata hai aapka training and orientation and induction process, onboarding process. So training and orientation, as I said, we map the competencies and skills. Right? Sir has given you a good overview of how the competency mapping is being done. So you can utilize that competency mapping. So there are actually 2 times in the entire year of an employee life cycle when we use competency mapping. One, when we are hiring them in the organization. Second time, when we are doing their performance management, which is performance appraisals. So these are the 2 major things. So out of these 2 activities, we generally try and find out what kind of competencies are missing, and then we design their training. Then aata aapka first quarter. So when the induction or onboarding process is actually extended to 3 months or 6 months, then we call them orientation process. Right? That's when it becomes orientation. So orientation largely means that you are actually helping or supporting the person in terms of understanding their job's responsibilities, not just about the company, but about their own role, how much work they have to do, what kind of skill set that they need to acquire, how they have to perform their work. Right? So now there are 4 C's of onboarding. This generally you won't get in any books or things. This is what I have created. I personally believe that these 4 C's of onboarding are there, which is very crucial. Throughout my experience, we have been using them. So number 1 is the compliance. So compliance is that anybody whosoever is joining the organization should be aware about what are the legal processes, right? Whether in terms of salaries, whether in terms of their leaves that they have to take, and all other things that is related with the laws and legalities of human resources and employees in the organization. See, India, my problem is there that not many employees are aware about their own rights in the companies. It's not that we have to use it against the organization, but if we are aware about these rights, so people are not even aware about what are the uses of PF, Provident Fund. They don't know what gratuity is for. Right? They have no idea what superannuation or my retirement plan will have, what kind of payments will come. So, all these things, as an HR, if you are educated, you are well aware about these things. So you can actually make people attract towards your organization talking about these things, that PF is really a good fundamental. It's really important for any employee to continue in the organization, that gratuity has good benefits. So gratuity is given to people who have given 5 years of service in an organization. Right? So there is a particular amount which is contributed from the employer funds, and that has been given to the employee after they have completed 5 years. And if they don't complete 5 years, this entire amount goes back to the employer's account. So the employee doesn't get the benefit. Right? So that's how, so making these people, see, these are the laws and legalities which every HR especially should be aware about, because you might have to encounter so many different kind of questions when people can join your organization, right? So 4 C's, onboarding ke andar, you should be talking about compliance really, really importantly. Second, aata hai clarifications. So now clarification can come about salary structures, job roles, support system, what kind of admin things that we are going to provide, how is the culture of the organization. So various kind of clarifications you might have to give to the employee. Right? Generally, all good organizations, what they do and create is they create FAQs, which is frequently asked questions already, and they already prepare an answer and they post it on their internal system, which we call HRIS system. So it really helps the new employees. So suppose you don't have to come back to your HR, or you don't have to go back to any other person. First thing you can try is you can see on your company's portal. If you don't still get the answer, then you can obviously go back to your HR and ask them those questions. So clarification, you should always be ready that there are people who are going to come to you for clarifications on various things, right? Better is to include it as a part of the training orientation that you are going to give to the people. So talking about major policies, talking about job roles and responsibility, talking about the entire support system which you are going to get. Then third is culture of the organization. Very important again. Without any employee being aware about the culture of the organization, it gets very difficult to get them inducted in the organization. Right? Culture plays very important role. Many organizations do not hire people even after their skill set and their good competencies and education qualification, purely because they don't find them fitting with the culture. So this position that I have given you for the company that you have to hire, this company really works on that particular platform. They don't hire people who don't fit in their culture. Right? So it's a very young organization. So a lot of young people have joined in. So they're looking for people who can put their efforts, who are young, who are smart, can give a lot of time and efforts to the organization. Right? So depending upon culture to culture, company to company, the culture can differentiate, and that's how we have to make them understand what exactly is the core value system of the organization. Next are the connections. So now connections means who are the people you are going to connect with more often in the company. So it can be, admin department is always really useful for any employee whosoever joins in. Similarly, HR department is really useful. So all the shared service departments, or we call them support departments also, they are very, very important for everybody to know. So finance, accounts, administration, logistics, HR. So all these things are, all these departments are really, really very important, no matter which department a person has joined in. Right. So bringing that connection kind of a thing in the company, you have to see from these 4 points that what are the important things that needs to be inculcated in your orientation process in terms of compliance, clarification, culture, and connection. That can make your orientation much more better. Now, the benefits why we actually do orientation or why we have the induction process in place in organization is because number one, it's maximize retention and loyalty of people, right? The better exposure you give them, the better are the chances that the person has joined initial days and they are going to stay for longer time period. The strengthen company culture, because it's a very good practice that you are bringing in a lot of trainings, you are bringing in clarifications, you are bringing in knowledge on the very first day for the employees. So obviously it strengthens your company culture also. Then foster belongingness and inclusion. It's very important that people should feel as an important part of the organization, and this is where HR can play a very, very large and huge role in terms of making people feel that they are really, really valued. Inclusion in the sense that you don't know what kind of background the person has come from. So many organizations works on equal opportunity policy, right? That they want to give equal opportunity to anybody whosoever joins it, whether it is different gender, whether it is different races, religions. They don't really care about all these things. So that's how the policy generally talks about. But when it comes to the practical exposure of doing it, people generally don't hire anybody from LGBTQ, right? They don't hire transgenders in organizations. They don't hire differently abled people. They don't hire people who have problems, yeah, mental problems, like a little bit of. So, these are the things that needs to be included in the organization. If you're looking at the skill set and qualification, if the person has merit, then why not to hire them in the organization? Right. So when you are writing and talking about 90% of organizations talk about equal opportunity employers, right? But practicality, they don't do it. Right. We had one organization where I worked. I won't name it. Right. But this organization talks about hiring 30,000 people in their company. And they said कि हम differently able को भी hire करेंगे. Differently able मतलब people who have some kind of problems, whether in their legs or body, part of the body. But when it comes to practicality, they did not have the proper feature. That means they had the staircase when they are entering in the premises. They don't have the utility where the person can actually use wheelchair and enter the organization. So they hired one person who had problem in the legs, stating that we believe in equal opportunity. But when this person actually came on board on the first day of joining, he faced a lot of difficulties in terms of how is he going to enter the organization. Right. So practically the guards has to carry the wheelchair and then he entered. But then obviously he could not continue because there was no proper way. He could not do every day. Right. So that's the belonging and inclusion means that you are making sure that if you're hiring such people or you are hiring any category of people, they should feel valued in the company. Right. Then आता है आपका maximize productivity. Maximize productivity. See, at the end of the day, business are being run on profitability, and higher the productivity, higher the profitability. Right. So we as an HR or whosoever is designing the entire orientation process has to ensure that productivity is being reached to the maximum level. Then minimize business risk, because if you are taking good orientation and people are able to understand their job responsibilities and role in a nice manner, that means that they are going to bring higher level of the business risk would be lesser. Right. Then reduce cost of turnover. Right. Cost of turnover is what? When an employee leaves the organization, it is called labor turnover or attrition. So higher the cost of turnover, that means the number of people who are leaving the organization, if they are higher, that means it's a very additional cost to the company. Because you're spending so much of amount in putting job posts, then you're hiring, then your people are actually giving them training, And then you're sourcing these candidates from various channels. So you're actually putting a lot of money during the entire process. So if the person leaves the organization, that means you have to start this whole process again. That means additional cost to it. Right? So that's the reason why if you do a very good onboarding process, you create a wonderful orientation process, then your turnover actually reduces to a huge amount. Right? There are various surveys being done. There are various employee surveys being conducted by the organizations and different organizations. This is the result coming out of that this is how the employee onboarding process can create a different kind of benefits and advantages to the employee. Then attract top talent. So the more your orientation process really works well, the higher the chances that you're going to attract good talent in your company. Because word of mouth works really well, especially during social media days now. People are actually sharing their experiences on Glassdoor. There are different kind of websites. So Glassdoor may generally people put reviews. All the employees can put reviews about their organization. So Glassdoor may, if they write anything wrong about the organization, people go and check the review. It's going to create a huge, destruction for the company. So it's always better that whatever experience you are going to create, again, it's not really, you cannot satisfy 100% of employees. Still employees find, it's because it's a human nature that we try and find some kind of negativity in anything that we encounter. So some people might do that, but overall, if you create a good experience and exposure, then you can actually help in attracting good talent. Right now, onboarding works in 3 phases. Number 1 is pre-boarding phase, induction second, and then orientation third. So pre-boarding state, we have already spoken about, we have talked about that it starts from the time period when you are actually starting from the cold calling to the prospective candidates for interview or sourcing, right? So that's when it starts. Induction is, we said that the time when the person joins the organization, the day from that day onwards, for 2-3 days, you can create your induction process. So it's like introduction to the company, policies, procedures, job descriptions, job roles, and everything. Then orientation is basically giving them a little more time to get adjusted to the company systems and cultures and see whether they are fitting. That is the reason why most organizations have probation period in the appointment letter. Why this probation period is there? So that they can check in these 30 days whether the 30 to 90 days is the probation period. So they generally check whether the person has understood the job roles and responsibility, how much they are putting in their efforts, whether they are ready for the role or not. The CV said something else, but in practicality, they do not carry those skills or competencies what they have, because clearing an interview is easier. Like we did talk about this in the last class, that some organization or some institution actually prepare their students for clearing the interview. So sab rata dete hain, sab kuch, exactly word to word. So clearing interview will not be a problem. But then once you start working in the organization, how much do you practically know? It's going to make a lot of difference. So pre-boarding के अंदर आ जाता है आपको offer letter, acceptance of offer letter, all the information, how you're communicating to the employee about joining, and the introduction of the company. Right? Because when you are sourcing the candidates, you are actually giving them an introduction that this is the company of all about, these are the policies we have, these are the benefits we give to the employees. So you have to talk about all these things. Right? That's how you're going to attract the right kind of talent. And these are the 4 important parameters. Now, induction ka meaning hai, like you have already spoken, introduction of employee in the organization and understanding of systems, process, and policies. How it is going to work? Induction process is first you design something so that they can have a meet and greet kind of a thing which is happening in the organization. Then you can introduce them to the team members. Then the organization overview you can give. Work policies you can discuss and talk about. Their roles and expectations, what they have to play. Process compliances, so how they are actually going to do different kind of processes. Suppose they have to go on leave. So leave is a policy that 6 leaves hai, sick leaves, 6 leaves, 7 are casual leaves, and then rest are your privilege leaves. So this is policy which talks about how you have to apply for the leaves, कौन आपकी leaves approve करेगा, कब approve करेगा, कितने दिन पहले आपको करना पड़ेगा. So this is called process compliance. So for each policy, there is a huge process which you have to follow. So that's how process compliance becomes a very important part of the induction. Then आते हैं आपके performance standards, which you are already studying in PMS, right? So which is at every task that you are going to do for the organization, how are you going to get quantified? Whether which method are the company using, that totally depends upon company to company. They can use MBO, they can use 360 degree, they can use balance scorecard, OKR methods, KRA, KPI methods. So there are various methods. Any method that you can use, but it's very important during the induction process that they are going to give you a complete brief about what kind of performance measures we are going to choose, so that people are aware that if I'm joining this organization, this is how I am going to be evaluated on my performance. Then your review and feedback. So it's very important. It's not just a one way of talking, that the organization and only giving things to the employee. It's very important that they take the review and feedback. So 360 is not just used for PMS. Basically, it's not really a PMS tool. 360 degree is generally used in the organization as a feedback mechanism. And that's how it is successful. Because if you use it for performance management, it becomes very tricky or critical ho jata hai, because people generally, what they do is, like Anirudh sir has shared one example with you all, that because 360 degree के अंदर juniors भी senior के बारे में बोलेंगे. So it gets very difficult कि तूने मेरे बारे में क्या बोला, बाद में ये चीजें बाद में पता चल जाती है. So feedback mechanism की तरह अगर आप इसको use करते हो, तो you try and use it in a method that people don't have to tell their names in 360 degree. They can just share the feedback about people who they are connected with, and then you can use that particular tool for taking reviews and feedbacks and collect them and make changes in the organization. Right? So the time you are going to use 360 degree for appraisals, it's going to get critical. If you are using purely as taking feedback, it's going to be successful. Right? That's how the history has told us. Now, what are you going to cover in your induction process? These are the things. The history of the organization, कैसे start हुआ, कौन से year में start हुआ, what are the theories behind starting the organization, why the owners or board of directors wanted to start the company. So the story behind the success of the company or how it started. Then आपके vision of the organization. So why the company is there and what are the visions for the coming years? It's very important for every employee to know. See, until and unless we won't know about these things, people won't feel connected. That is the reason you will see that in organizations, very few people get successful because they connect with these things. Rest, everybody is just doing the job that they have to go work, take the salary and go home, right? So they don't really feel connected with the organization. It's a very few percentage who are actually, whose personalities are made like that they feel connected with the history, goals and vision, right? So these are the things that we talk about, the goals of the organization and how your individual goals are going to be mapped within the organizational goals. Value system क्या है companies का, relationship structures कैसे हैं, which is the complete organization structures, hierarchy levels. मेरे ऊपर कौन है, किसको report करूँगा, उनके ऊपर कौन है. So how is the hierarchy structure is being followed, right? Then people who are the important people in the organization, various kind of people are there, so you need to know about them. And last is your performance proficiency. That कहाँ से evaluation होगा, कब होगा, कैसे मेरा assessment होने वाला है, what are the standards of my performance, what is quantifiable, what is not quantifiable, so things like that. इसके benefits क्या हैं induction के? Why do we need induction process? Because it will save on time and resources. Right? If you take the person on the job for the first day onwards, it is going to be a huge cost because आपको वो time फिर again रोज training में देना पड़ेगा. Then second is, it is an opportunity to get creative. You know, I feel personally that orientation and induction is a wonderful way of treating, giving very good treatment to the employee. So you can actually get as much creative as you want. Right? So as an assignment also, I'm going to give you this week, and this is going to be the last assignment for extra classes, that you have to create, you have to give one idea that if you are an HR manager, how are you going to design your induction process? Like I said, we designed treasure hunt. So treasure hunt, what we did was we created a chit box, and a chit was given, first chit was given to the security guard. He has to give that chit to the newcomers. Then from that chit, There was a clue what this person has to do. Then they came inside. Then they were given a second chit at the reception. So this is how they have to find the clue, and they reached the conference hall. Right? And it was fun because when the employees are not experiencing, they have never experienced something like that, and they were not expecting something to be happen like that. So generally, it gives a very good shock to the people, right? So it's always in a good thing. So you can do that. So many good exercises, many good creative things companies have used, starting from giving a chocolate box the very first day to the employee, decorating their workspace with balloons or flowers, giving them bouquet, giving them welcome letter sent to their parents at their home that we are congratulations that your wonderful child has been selected in our organization. So different kind of things. So this is up to you how you can actually create. So many things have been done. There are so much more that you can actually bring in. So use your creative mind, bring your innovation to this, and you can actually bring in a very wonderful idea. And you never know, we might use this idea in one of the organizations that we are working for. Right? And we'll, sometimes we actually take the names, not sometimes. I have always given the credit to the person who creates that. So we will give that idea if it is selected in any of the organizations. We might call it HIMA idea or Bushra idea, something like that, to make it more meaningful. Then third benefit is to better the induction process, the more efficient and effective the employee will become in their role. It's very important that it's like जब हम वॉर के लिए जाते हैं तो वॉर के लिए क्या क्या प्रिपरेशन करनी पड़ती है ऑन द बॉर्डर. You need your arms and ammunitions, you need your safety guards, सब चीजें पहनी हो, properly helmet पहना हो, all these things. So it's very important when a person is actually going to do the practical orientation of work, you give them complete guard of everything. So your arms and ammunitions basically here are their exact tools, complete knowledge, complete training, how they are going to get. So, that's how you have to prepare them. It's not really a war within the company, but sometimes it becomes like that because you're always against somebody. When we are doing assessment, there is a comparison which is happening with many other employees in the department, right? It's always like that. हमारा पूरा education system से लेकर corporate system सब ऐसे ही बना है. That only one is going to get go ahead. एक ही number one आएगा. Organizations में भी एक दो ही आगे बढ़ेंगे. So this will keep happening till the time you are there. So next आता है आपका feeling supported and listened to will boost the individual's confidence. So it's very important that you give them, especially to the freshers or the people who are joining for the first time, it gives them a different kind of confidence that, with the help of support of a beautifully designed induction process, I am going to get successful in the company. I am become confident because my jobs is clear, roles is clear, people are supportive, I'm getting wonderful treatment. So all these things actually boost them into, and it feeds into complete good moral system. Okay? Good moral system, good motivation, and happiness always ends into retention. That means people generally don't leave the organization too early. Eventually they leave. 2-3 years is a good time period these days. Yeah. Earlier कहते थे 6-7 लोग साल काम करते हैं. I'm sure your parents would have worked for longer time period if they were in a job. My dad spent almost 30 years in one organization itself. So these people were totally different. I could never work for more than 3 years, 4 years in any organization, right? So Hamara orientation, how we work, how we look at the challenging work all the time is very different from how older people, the generation which has gone from before us, they used to work in a different thing. आज की जो generation आ रही है, which we call millennials, which is you people, your attention span is even lesser. So people generally don't spend more than 18 months, 2 years, 2.5 years in any organization. And because jaldi hai cheeze karne ki, seekhne ki bhi, aage badhne ki bhi, and it's a very good trend. I don't find it offensive. It's really good trend because 18 months is a good time period when you learn and you can apply your knowledge to something. And after 18 months, if you're changing, it's a good time period. And obviously, if you are getting good challenging work within an organization, or they make you stay for longer time period also. Yeah, Bushra, you want to say something?
No, ma'am, I wanted to add that it gives opportunity to fresh talents also.
Yeah.
This trend.
Absolutely. So right now, if you want to take 5 minutes break, we can join back, or maybe 10 minutes. If you want to close, we can just complete this. Let me know how you want to do it. You want to take a break, or shall we continue and finish it?
We can continue if.
Yeah, if all of you are okay, then we are okay. Hima, Prachi?
Okay, ma'am, continue. Can
Yes,
continue.
ma'am, we can continue.
Okay. So last point is help to sustain a positive company culture, right? So it's really, really important for induction process to get successful. Is it gives a lot of, it boosts morale of the organization as a whole, and people understand that, company is actually giving me so much of value. One word that is being used generally is that, my cultural orientation to the company is being valued. People are actually giving me that kind of thing, right? Then आता है आपका third portion of this entire process, which is orientation. So what is orientation now? Like you described, all of you have understood this pretty well, and you described also that an opportunity to make each new employee comfortable. Right? So induction because induction training is just 2 days. You're telling them, you are giving them so much of data and information. People take time to adjust and get engulfed into whatever information is being coming, right? So it takes time for people to adjust to the new structures, new systems, new processes. That is the reason very popular method of orientation is 30, 60, 90. So 30, 60, 90 is basically after 30 days, we take a review of the employee, whether they have understood the processes, policies, jobs, responsibility well or not. And then at the 60 days also, we do the same thing in the 90 days. So like you're creating a form for performance management system, कि आपका appraisal कैसे होगा, उसके अंदर क्या क्या information है. Similar kind of review forms are being created at various junctures in the organization, which is being used for the orientation process. So 30, 60, 90. Right? I'll send you one of the formats that we generally use for orientation during 30, 60, 90. Many organizations have started now using it 70, 30 or 60 also. So 7 days के बाद एक करते हैं, फिर 30 days के बाद, फिर 60 days के बाद. Right? So that's one of the methods. Then how to incorporate? So now you have to create a complete checklist that from your orientation process, what are you actually looking at? What is your expectation in terms of the company? So when we say your does not mean only the HRs. HRs should prepare themselves as a very, very important and integral part of the company's culture. So as part of the company culture, what are the checklists that needs to be inculcated into the entire process? It's very important for you to know. So right from whether the person has understood job responsibilities and roles in terms of what are their primary responsibilities and what are their secondary responsibilities. Have they met their seniors, superiors in the organization really well? The ice breaking has really happened well. They are aware about right kind of people in the company, that these are the people I can go to if I am in a problem. So suppose stationery nahi mil raha hai organization, I don't have stationery at my desk, so who are the people I can go back to, right? So choti cheezein hain, but these are very important. Where are the toilets? People should be aware about that because it's an important part. Right? So similar kind of things. There are different things. अब मुझे travel के लिए जाना है, office के travel के लिए. So how much is my allowance that I can take? If I have two-wheeler, as per my job designation, whether I am okay to use four-wheelers for company purposes or not. If I'm using my four-wheeler, then what kind of petrol allowance I'm going to get, so different kind of things. So that comes under travel policies, and the checklist has to be prepared that what information should be there with the new employee so that he or she feel comfortable to work. So it's not just about their own role or seniors, it's about various processes and policies that can create a good impression. Then introductions, because during inductions, you cannot create introductions with everybody. So it's very important you find out as an HR that who are the key people who are going to get into the support system of this new person, and then you create introductions, special, what do you call it, sessions you can incorporate in the entire process. 2 घंटे उनके साथ बैठ के to understand 1 hour with that person. So this is how you have to create your indexation or checklist. That this is how this person is going to spend some time during the first month. Then obviously policies and procedures is very, very important. Spoken about, so leave policy, travel policy, ऐसे ही बहुत सारी policies होती हैं in the company. So that's how you have to give a complete overview to the person. Workplace conduct. What is the code of conduct of the organization? कितने सुट्टा breaks हैं? कितनी बार मैं smoking के लिए बाहर जा सकता हूँ? कितनी बार चाय कॉफी मिलेगा? कितनी बार मेरा enter करने का है? What is the biometric system? Attendance कैसे होगी? Timings क्या है? Punctuality कितनी matter करेगी? Discipline कैसे होगा? Core values कैसे count होंगी? बहुत सारी चीजें हो जाती हैं, right? So that workplace code of conduct has to be very, very important. Dress code policy क्या है? Whether it is smart casuals or I have to be always in tie or corporate look. So different kind of things are there in company. Then positional training. So positional training in the sense, now your position in the department, now your training is going to happen as a part of your job, which you have to perform in the organization. Right? So suppose if you are a CA, you're joining an organization as a CA, your department is finance department. So how your training is going to happen under the finance department for the task that you have to do, right? Because CA तो general हो गया, सबने clear किया है ना, कुछ लोग clear कर लेते हैं, but organization to organization, what software they are using, what tools they are using, कुछ Zoho use कर रहे हैं, कुछ Tally पे काम कर रहे हैं, कुछ SAP use कर रहे हैं, कुछ Oracle में कर रहे हैं. So different organization has a different tool that they work on. So how you are going to get training on that particular tool? Because अब आप SAP में किसी organization में काम करोगे and just a CA, first they will ensure that first 3 months you get a certification in the financial tools of SAP. Right? SAP ka financial tool, if you are going outside the organization and spending your amount, is going to cost 45,000-50,000 easily from private institutions. So if organization is going to invest that much of time in you, that means they are going to, there should be a bond generally that company is spending 50,000 for you. So you have to at least spend 2 years in the organization. So that's the kind of bond or agreement the company signs with the people if they have to work on these kind of tools, because expensive training होती है इन tools की generally market में, जो इनका cost होता है उसके हिसाब से companies also charge for it. फिर आता है आपका टाइप्स ऑफ ओरिएंटेशन कैसे होते हैं. नंबर 1 इज सेल्फ बेस्ड ऑनलाइन लर्निंग प्रोग्राम्स. मेनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन क्रिएट अ पोर्टल बेस्ड प्रोग्राम्स. उनका अपना पोर्टल है कंपनी के नाम से. तो सपोज गूगल का अपना है, फेसबुक का है, डिफरेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कैन क्रिएट. तो उसके अंदर दे हैव अ सेल्फ बेस्ड ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम जो आप अपने टाइम के अकॉर्डिंग कभी भी कर सकते हो. जैसे अभी तो आपको ऑनलाइन क्लासेस के लिए एक स्पेसिफिक टाइम पीरियड इसमें आना होता है. बट सपोज इफ वी हैड क्रिएटेड दीज वीडियोज इन एडवांस, तो हम आप जैसे उसमें होता है कोर्सेरा में, राइट? सो दे हैड क्रिएटेड अ वीडियो प्लेटफॉर्म. आपको सिर्फ लॉगिन करना है, पैसे देने हैं, एंड देन यू कैन एक्चुअली लर्न दी स्किल्स एज पर योर ओन टाइम. So if this recorded video or induction has already been there with YSI, how they could have used it? आपको पैसे ले लिया होता है आपसे, आपको लॉगिन दे दिया होता है, आपका जब मन करता है whenever you could have studied. So you don't have to wait for the teacher to come fix a timeline. So you can actually do it. So this is how induction process is being done in the organization. They give you a login, they give you the portal address and everything. So you learn at your own space. What they do, information, what kind of information you can learn, safety procedures क्या क्या हैं, सॉफ्टवेयर स्किल्स क्या जरूरी है, टेक्निकल स्किल्स क्या जरूरी है, ऑल अदर इंफॉर्मेशन लाइक दैट टू परफॉर्म अ जॉब दैट यू हैव टू डू. सेकंड आ जाता है वन ऑन वन मीटिंग्स टू डिस्कस वर्क एंड प्रोवाइड कंस्ट्रक्टिव फीडबैक. दैट्स वेरी सक्सेसफुल मेथड इवन नाउ इन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, that one-to-one you can actually clarify your doubts at the same place, right? So you can actually ask different kind of questions, you can give constructive feedback also, you can learn about your job role and other things from persons. Then mentoring, to give new hires a key resource with the company who they can do and continuously for question and feedback. So then they give you a mentor whose job is to look after you for 3 months. And that mentor can be your immediate superior, that can be a peer that who is working there in the organization. So companies generally choose and provide that mentor in the company. So their job is to make you completely relaxed in the company and make you understand the entire things through obviously answering questions, taking reviews and giving you feedback. Then hands-on training. Some organization, what they do is after the induction is over for first 2-3 days, they give you on-the-job training. Right? This is done basically for the company like IT companies, manufacturing plants, where they have to use a lot of machineries and equipments and tools. So that, until unless you have not taken an experience on hands-on tools, it becomes very difficult for you to work like that. Then आता है in-person group training to train employees on soft skills. So अभी जैसे हमने competency की बात करी कि when during hiring, we have found that some of these soft skills are missing in this person. He or she is not being rated 5 out of 5. So जो gaps है, whatever is important for the job, because sometimes sales के लिए बहुत जरूरी हो जाता है how to do client management, or for hiring job, it's very important that how to do cold calling, team building कैसे करना है, customer service ऐसे. So these are few skills or few soft skills or competencies that is required for maximum jobs. So if you have not been rated more than 3, then generally most of the organization try and organize trainings for that. So first 3 months के अंदर आपको उतना equip कर देते हैं. Then आता है आपका formal courses available. So बहुत सारी companies orientation के time पे external trainers hire करते हैं. We go, companies like us who go in the organizations and give trainings on various topics. It can be time management, all these things that we have written, customer service training, team building, client management, coaching. So like, Patanjali had created a very first time their own department for customer service. Right? उससे पहले वो products बेच रहे थे, but they didn't have. So when the complaints started coming in, they were not expecting कि complaints इतनी आएंगी for their food division. So then when they were setting up their customer service department, then we were called for their entire training. So for the entire batch of 50-55 people, we had to train them how to do customer service, what kind of things you can say, what kind of things you can do. If the customer is angry, what kind of things you have to expect, how you have to answer them politely, various things. So this is really important. And this entire team of 55 people had recently joined it. So that's how they were incorporated into the entire system so that they can feel safe when they are handling the customers, right? Then the last में आपका diversity and gender sensitization training, very, very important. It has become an integral part of the organization. Diversity means, which we have already spoken, that if you are from a different kind of a background, like if you're differently abled, you are LGBTQ, transgenders हैं, अलग-अलग section से आए हैं आप तो आपका किस तरीके से कंपनी के अंदर welcome होना चाहिए. You don't make them feel an outsider, right? So that's what has to happen. इंडिया में क्या चलता है, दलित और ब्राह्मण्स के बीच में बहुत वॉर चलता रहता है. मतलब you will keep hearing about these things. Employees का organizations में ऐसा शुरू कर दे तो then it will be very difficult for them to work. So इसलिए diversity training is very important. So we ensure as an HR that whosoever has joined the company, he or she has joined the company purely on their merits and skills in education. Nothing else matters. What background, what cultural orientation, what race, what caste, what kind of background, it doesn't matter. It should not matter. Right? But society ऐसी है इंडिया में, so it generally creates an impact. That is the reason why these trainings are being given. Then second is gender sensitization training. Now, gender sensitization training is very important from two factors कि women के साथ still बहुत सारे sexual harassment case होते हैं in organization. Not to scare you, इतना भी frequent नहीं होता, पहले होता था. But since social media has engulfed so much, people are becoming aware about what their rights and things. So there are proper tools, there are proper trainings which is being given to male members generally, so that they know how much they have to open up to the female, what kind of jokes they can crack. You should not be touching a woman unnecessarily. And it's not for women. Sometimes women also mistreat their, so suppose there is a woman boss, they also mistreat their qualification or their hierarchy into the system. So it works both ways. I have seen both kind of cases happening in organizations. So it can happen from any which ways. Gender sensitization to make people sensitize about each other, that if you're working closely, your gender should not come into place. Your skill set is what matters. Again, practically, when you are going to work around this area, the practical scenario is little different because women are still the basic caregivers to the family. कोई भी घर में कभी बीमार होता है तो women also leaves their job and join them. शादी होती है तो भी leave them. Maternity होती है, obviously we have to leave. So there are various junctures where women had to compromise the entire way. So gender sensitivity training ठीक रहता है, but overall the impact is always on the female more. Now onboarding examples क्या है? Notable employee onboarding examples. ये कुछ examples है which you can study or you can read about it when I'll send you this case study or this slides. So these are few examples that how Netflix is using orientation in their organization, how DigitalOcean as a company, Twitter ने क्या क्या किया है, Buffer ने क्या क्या किया है. So 4 major companies I have taken these examples from, and they talk about कि हम क्या different करते हैं than other organization. Right? So for example, you can read that Twitter has 75 steps in their orientation. So the checklist says that these 75 steps has to be followed. Right? From accepting the job offer to sitting at their desk, ये सब चीजें होनी चाहिए. So this 75 step process, if any HR is there, they have to just follow that entire process and the orientation is being done wonderfully. Right? So this is how different companies have this. So like Buffer का आप पढ़ोगे तो 3 buddy system है, role buddy है, cultural buddy है. Most organization has HR buddy system or mentor buddy system. So various kind of systems are there. This is how the checklists are being prepared in majority of the organizations. So just to give you a little gist about it. ऊपर आपने employee का नाम लिख दिया, उनकी hiring date लिख दी, कौन से department से है. Then this is what the things you need to complete in your. So you know, lunchroom, kitchen का tour हो गया, supply storage, restrooms, all these things. उनसे क्या expectations हैं, उनको क्या expectations होती हैं, voice mail, email, confidentially staff meetings, break timings, injury reports, so बहुत सारी चीजें होती हैं करना होता है. Performance management में उनको क्या चाहिए, customer service में उनको आपसे क्या चाहिए, benefit information में क्या क्या देना है उनको, insurance, retirement, PF, gratuity, all those things, and that's how you create your own checklist, right? तो जैसे आप देखोगे इसमें जगह है टिक मार्क लगाने के. So the moment you are actually including it in your entire orientation or induction process, you can checklist. So you can just put a tick that this thing is being done. And then employee and employer also signs on these things at the end of your orientation program, so that you have a proof that from your side the entire orientation program has been introduced to the new joiner. They cannot say कि मेरा ये miss हो गया था, वो miss हो गया था. So after the tick mark is being done, they just sign on that. So at the end of the day, that you can see employee signature or उनके immediate supervisor के signatures. Right? So this is how. This is just one pattern of creating checklist. There are various different ways you can create it. Right? Some organization have it as a what do you call it? Included tool in the internal job portal. So what they generally do is कि आपने 3 दिन का टाइम दे दिया एम्प्लॉय को, 3 दिन में उनको बोला अपनी पॉलिसीज पढ़ लो अपने हिसाब से, जब भी आपके पास टाइम है प्रोसेसेस पढ़ लो, कंपनी के बारे में पढ़ लो, विजन, गोल्स एंड ऑल दिस थिंग्स. 3 दिन के बाद आपका एक क्विज होगा. क्विज के अगर आपने 100 में से 94 मार्क्स ले लिए, देन यू क्लियर इट. इफ यू डोंट क्लियर इट, यू हैव टू अप्लाई इट 3 times. If you don't clear it, then you are not required in the organization. So some organizations do that. Right? So that is how also things are being given. So a lot of quiz programs you can introduce, a lot of question answers you can ask, questionnaires you can introduce, surveys you can introduce. So orientation is huge. It can bring in any kind of creativity and innovation from you. Right? So now your assignment is next week, whenever you get time, before next Saturday, you have to send me your ideas on how you can actually, as an HR, what will you do creatively? Do a little research, see if your method has already been taken by somebody, and then you can change that. Any questions on this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Prachi.
Ma'am, do people get fired during the orientation period? Employees?
Yeah. Not during,
Like,
but immediately after. So see the entire time period when we take this 30, 60, 90 feedback or review. So we make note because it's in a format. It's in a form format. You can either create it technically in your system or you can give it manually to the employee. So you make a note of people's understanding of their roles and responsibility. You see whether, you know, this person was actually coming out to be very much smarter during the interview, but practically person doesn't know anything. और बहुत बार होता है. Right, so then you don't actually need that person in the company. Some companies are very strict, some companies still give time. They create PIP, which is called Performance Improvement Plan. They give additional 6 months or 3 months, depending upon person's compatibility and their own learning method, and that's how they actually do. So from 90 days, which is 3 months से लेकर और 3 months तक extend कर देते हैं. So yes, the answer is yes, you can tell people to leave the organization. That's why they are on probation. So during probation, you can easily tell an employee to leave. That's legally also valid. But you have to give them a strong reason. You should have proper reviews, feedbacks. And they are also aware about these feedbacks that I am doing wrong, something wrong is being done. Yeah. Any other questions? Seema, Bushra? I'll share these slides, right? Tomorrow morning, I'll share everything. जो भी backlog भी बचा हुआ है, Boolean search वगैरह वाला सब. I'll send it to you tomorrow morning. Go through it in details. You can ask questions. If you want another session to just clear your doubts and answer questions, we can have another half an hour, 45-minute session just to clear your doubts next week. And then you people are good to go. Then regular classes so चली रहे.
Ma'am, what about the assignment of, you said that you'll have to make an interview video.
वो सब कल भेजूंगी मैं सुबह. These are all a list of assignment which has already been shared for the other people. I have got the list. I'll just have to share it with you. So just give me time till tomorrow because
Okay.
आज रात तक I was really busy. So Saturdays are generally lighter. So I'll send it tomorrow.
Okay.
All right. Good night. Have a great week and month ahead. Let me
Good
know if you
night.
have questions. Yeah.
Good night, ma'am.
Good night.